All right, we are live. I'm going to wait here until things get started here. There we go. All right. Okay, so here we are. Hey guys, my name's Adam Stevens. I am a certified life and well-being coach from St. Louis, Missouri. This is my weekly live stream. I do one of these almost every Tuesday. If you go to my homepage, adamstevenscoaching.com, you can learn all about me and what I do as a life and well-being coach and all the stuff I do. So I always tell people what I do is I help really busy people develop the attitudes and mindset and the habits to become happy individuals, or at least happy most of the time. And I'll talk more about that today. Today's live stream is going to be on gratitude. And the reason I wanted to talk about gratitude is because I use the habit of writing a gratitude list on a pretty regular basis. And it's something that helps me shift my energy really quickly. On these live streams over the last several weeks, I've been talking about a lot of these different habits and different self-care skills that we can use. I've talked about meal prepping. I've talked about creating your core values and your mission statement, your life purpose. I've talked about mindfulness meditation right now on the hub at adamstevenscoaching.com. I'm teaching a series on mindfulness meditation. And so these habits that we form, like the gratitude list, the mindfulness, all these things that we do, these are ways that we can shift our energy, right? Unfortunately, the culture we live in is very much about marketing, and we're told that happiness is some far off thing. We need to achieve it. And what I always remind my clients and the people that I work with is that we don't go find happiness, we do happiness. Happiness is a practice, right? And we're not happy all the time. And when we find ourselves, if we're unhappy, if we're tired, if we're burnt out, if we're irritable, we just have to pick some self-care tools and just shift our energy real quick. And that'll help us get back on the path of living the lives we want to live. So anyhow, I thought today what I would do, I wrote this gratitude list just this morning. And I thought I would share all the stuff that I'm grateful for. So I have a legal pad. This is like my journal. I have legal pads all over my house, and I'm always writing down goals, lists. A lot of times when I'm listening to audiobooks, I'll write down notes or important stuff or quotes. So anyway, this morning I woke up and I wrote my gratitude list. And so I woke up, I had a roof over me. I was in a bed. I have a healthy family. My kids were being really loud, but they are healthy. They're good. They're good, healthy little kids. So also, I have a beautiful wife. She was in the house with me, and we got together. We got in our rhythm. Pretty successful morning, all things considered. And then I took my kids to coffee, right? And I have my minivan. I love my minivan. So we went to Starbucks. The barista was very kind to us. They had snacks. So we get Skinny Pop, Air Pop for the kids. And last week they were out. Today they actually had it. So, right? So we had good sunshiny morning. We had a minivan. We went to Starbucks. Barista was really nice. We got the snacks we wanted. I drove and dropped my daughter off at school. It's a great school. And then I got to spend some time with my son. So I worked yesterday. I worked for an amazing nonprofit. I got to work with some of my favorite coworkers yesterday. We laughed a lot. We had a lot of fun. My job gives me health insurance, so I'm really grateful for that. This morning I was thinking about my laptop. I love this laptop. My wife for Christmas, Katie bought me this webcam, and this webcam is much nicer than the one that came on this Lenovo. So I have a webcam I love. Like I said, it's sunshiny. I've been prepping my garden. I have a lot of gear and garden tools already set up. Last year we did a lot. We bought a lot during COVID, so my garden's getting ready to go. I have education, I have training, I have talents. I've gotten some more certifications this year. I have time to write right now. A few years ago, I was thinking that I really wanted to write a book, and I'm working on that now. I've got a bunch of blogs, and I've been producing video content. I'm an entrepreneur. I started a company, right? Like this was just a dream of mine a few years ago, and I've been working on it. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. Um, I practice minimalism and frugality, right? So these are some habits and a lot of writers that have inspired my wife and I. So really the guy who kind of started minimalism was a guy named Leo Babauta, and he wrote a blog in like 2006, 2007 when nobody was blogging at all. It wasn't a popular thing. And he wrote a blog called Zen Habits where he really quoted the term minimalism. And we were heavily inspired by that, particularly my wife, and she kind of taught that to me. And then I got real into frugality as a mindset of saving money and finding having fun and enjoying life through experience versus owning things. And I read a couple of really big books, right, that I've read were The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and then he wrote another book called Financial Peace. So all of these things, right? And I've made progress on all of these goals. So just to review here, right? Like I had a great morning. I've got all these amazing books. I have all these talents, education. I have all this stuff to be grateful for today. And the biggest thing too is like I had a back injury, right? And my back feels great. I was working with my chiropractor and a physical therapist, and they created a mobility routine for me that I've been doing. And my back has felt amazing the last several weeks, almost the last month or so, which is good because there was a period where my back was hurting constantly and it was hard for me to sleep. So that's all the stuff I'm grateful for today. And that only took me about 2 minutes of sitting down with this pad and writing about it. So obviously, I don't feel that grateful all the time. I don't feel this fired up and happy all the time. But what I'm learning about myself, what they taught me in life coach training and what I teach my clients is that it's not so much about trying to embody these emotions all the time as much as it is becoming aware of where we're at and owning it and taking action, right? So that's I taught about this in a live stream a couple months ago, but I call that AOA, and it's awareness, ownership, and action. I have to be aware of where I'm at. I have to take ownership and responsibility for it, and I need to take action to move forward, right? So I'll teach this little lesson. I'm going to try and keep today short. I said I would keep last week short, and I talked for 20 minutes. So I'll try and keep this week shorter. But anyway, this is my threshold, right? Just think of this threshold like a gateway to happiness or a more positive mindset. Down here, we're going to have guilt, shame, remorse, bitterness, anger, defiance, all of that stuff. And above the threshold, we're going to have service and love and compassion and empathy and opportunity and creative energy and bliss and happiness, right? And so you say, oh, that kind of sounds like a bunch of woo-woo life coachy BS, but it's not actually. It's not that important to be either way, all right? What's important is to be able to shift, right? So I got trained in what's called core energy. It's a really cool discipline. And so in core energy, we exist on a spectrum of energy. And remember, when I say energy, feelings, emotions, and energy, that's all the same thing. Jealousy is an energy. Anger is an energy. Love is an energy. Compassion is an energy. Joy is an energy, right? So what we have to remember is the bottom, the very bottom, below the threshold, down here where it hurts, is the victim. And remember, victims have no power to change their circumstances. They have very little energy to make changes. And at the very top of the spectrum is going to be like the guru, like transcendence, like the bliss, joy, passion, creative energy, right? Now, remember, at the bottom of the scale, there's going to be a huge emphasis on the painful past. And at the top of the scale, there's going to be very little, it's not like very little emphasis on time at all, because we're going to be in that state of gratitude and joy and abundance, and we're going to be having fun. We're going to see all this opportunity in the world, and we're going to have a high amount of gratitude and love for the fact that we even exist, right? And so we don't have to hang out either way. Remember, it's a spectrum, but here's my threshold, right? The only thing that separates most successful people is that they found a way through their attitudes and mindset to live above the threshold more days than not, or more time than not. We all will fall below the threshold. We will all have days where we get burnt. If a tragedy happens, it makes sense that you'd feel victimized or that you'd feel very angry. If there's a big change at work, or like right now, if you're an accountant and it's tax season or whatever, we all have different seasons in our work life and corporate America, different stuff where stuff happens to us and we feel kind of burnt out. Maybe we exit a relationship and we feel lonely or sad. There might be a health scare in the family or a death in the family. There's all sorts of reasons we might wind up below the threshold. And that's not that big of a deal. But what's important is to know that we exist on a spectrum. And so what we have to do is sort of take ownership of where we're at and shift, right? Like we call that a springboard in coaching. We're trying to kind of propel ourselves forward so we can get away from some of these more, they're not even bad energies. They're just energies that don't necessarily serve us if we want to live a really happy and functional life. So, and this is different than like the whole, like people call it toxic positivity, which is where it's like, oh, you should be grateful or whatever. You have to spin everything as this super awesome spiritual opportunity. And we have to be careful with that because we go through seasons where we need help. We go through seasons of grief. right? And so as a life coach, I help people shift and take energy and shift and springboard to where they're already fairly functional, and they want to thrive more, or they want to learn to live in that really happy and grateful zone as much as possible. And that's great. But sometimes we wind up in scenarios where we need a different kind of help, and that's okay. Like my journey has been predicated on tons of help, right? By counselors and by pastors and by personal trainers and all sorts of people who helped me. Like 10 years ago, I weighed 300 pounds. I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker. I had a lot of terrible habits. I had a lot of pain in my heart that I just had to deal with. One of the beauties of part of my journey was growing and then getting into life coach training. I actually had another coach say, you should go into life coach training. You've learned a lot. You've grown a lot. You could probably help other people. And I made a decision to do that. So wherever you are at on the journey, just know that you may need help, and everybody needs help. There's a life coach right now named Rich Levin. He's from Britain. He's got a great accent, and he's really popular right now. He kind of owns the space, right? He's kind of a new age Tony Robbins. And he's got a famous quote where he says, if you have a goal you can accomplish by yourself, you haven't set a big enough goal, right? So we all need help, right? And that's why the discipline of coaching has come a long way since like the 90s and the 80s when it first started. But I really try and help, like I said, really busy people. Let's get you a self-care rhythm. Let's help you build a healthy mindset, a healthy life purpose, a life mission. And let's take all that great energy and let's propel you forward. And it's no big deal if you occasionally have some bitterness or some of those feelings of guilt or remorse or shame, or you're not having a great day. All I want to do with helping my life coaching clients is say, all right, where are we at? How can we move up the spectrum? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at on as far as your well-being today? And if you tell me a 6, it's like, all right, what do we need to do in the next hour during our coaching call, during our coaching session to get you from a 6 to an 8? Or maybe sometimes people go from a 6 and we talk for an hour and all of a sudden they're at a 9 or a 10. So remember, we never want to create our action plan from that low, below the threshold, right? We never want to make actions when we feel like crap, right? We don't want to decide what we want to do when we're feeling all victimized and vulnerable and terrible. We want to make decisions about how we're going to take our life and propel it forward when we feel really good. Make your decisions from a place of gratitude and joy and abundance and happiness, right? We want to make our decisions there because that's the life we want to live. So finishing up here, it's been 12 minutes. I'm going to end a little bit quicker today than I did last week, but just take some time today. Don't try and figure it all out, but even right now, or if you're watching this on the replay, just write it out. It could be on a pad, it could be on a Post-it note, it could be in your phone, on your note taker, it could be on the back of an envelope for junk mail. Write down a bunch of stuff you're grateful for. And another thing is share it, right? So I do gratitude practices with other people. It's a huge thing in the recovery community. A lot of us do this. So I will write down my gratitude and I'll text it to 3 or 4 people. And it's beautiful. It's like I texted one out on my lunch break yesterday, and then people started to text me and email me all their gratitude by the end of the day. And then, that's going to help you build some resilience around the negativity we see in our culture, because there's a lot, right? There's the news and the media, but there's also the marketing, and the marketing is really pervasive because it makes you think that you'd be happier if you had something else, or if you were somewhere else, or if you became someone else. So having that gratitude, it puts you in the now. It's going to say, wow, this is what I already have, right? There's a really popular Eckhart Tolle quote where he says, the path to abundance is becoming aware of what you already have, right? So it's what do I have today? I have so much to be grateful for, and when I can focus on that, focus on my self-care, right? Remember, hydrate, eat good foods, 5 to 6 servings of vegetables a day, eat some good fruits, get some energy, walk, get your steps in. When you start to really take care of yourself, you'll start to feel really great, and that's where we want to foster all that good energy. What are you grateful for? And share that with other people. Be a positive force in the world, right? And so that's all I've got today. This will be logged on adamstevenscoaching.com. adamstevenscoaching.com. You can find me on Facebook, Adam Stevens Coaching. I'm on Instagram at @stevenscoaching, and I'm on YouTube as well. So thanks for tuning in. If you could, share the replay. Like, this will come up on Facebook. Share it with your friends. And like I said, you have an amazing day, and go out there and be grateful. Take it easy.